Hey, it's me, Vicky Marie. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world we're living in. So, I'm here for my regular, nearly every morning. I try and come on, give you some updates about any of the cases that we're covering. So, this morning I've got two things I want to talk about, two cases that I want to talk about. First of all, I'll be talking about Jack and Lilly Sullivan. You know, these children, they're absolutely adorable. I've been watching, not watching, but following Belinda Gray, which is their paternal grandma, on Facebook. She put some lovely little videos on there, photos of them. Just adorable children. And Jack and Lily, of course, are these two siblings who went missing in Canada, in Nova Scotia. So that's what we're gonna talk about. Some sort of developments there in that case. And then after that, we're going to talk about the Nancy Guthrie case, the elderly lady that was sort of plucked from her bed in the middle of the night. And we're going to look at a video that's emerged of Nancy. Quite an old video, to be fair, but Nancy is, of course, the daughter of Savannah Guthrie, who is a news anchor for, popular American TV station. And, I've got to say that this video that's emerged, re-emerged, because it was done, taken many years ago, which shows Nancy in her bedroom describing the best way to make a bed. And I want to talk about this because it just seems, I don't know about you, but think about it in your country or any newscasters, or your journalists, etc. They rarely show sort of their family in these settings, isn't it? And to have a video taken in your bedroom, it's quite a private place, isn't it? Your bedroom, and the thing is, you just wonder if some crazy person was watching that, and that set off some sort of fantasy about Nancy, or it's quite eerie watching the video and knowing that that is the bedroom that Nancy was taken from. Probably even the bed that Nancy was taken from. And is this something, because we wouldn't think anything of it, would we? You would watch something like that, you think, oh, it's just a video about this lady saying, how to make a bed, the best way to make a bed. But some crazy people, some be watching that. There's always a possibility, let's put it that way. Only takes one wackadoodle, as JLR said. Only takes one crazy person to set off, to watch something like that and start obsessing over Nancy, maybe, because we still don't know any motive for this crime, do we? We don't know any motive. We don't know who did it. We don't know why they did it. We don't know we don't know who. We don't know why. We don't even really know when, because the date stamp on the CCTV and thing is missing, according to Sheriff Nanos. So do we even really know exactly when it happened? So we don't know who, we don't know why, and we don't really know when, or not exactly. Anyway, we're going to talk about that as well. But first of all, we're going to talk about first of all, I'd like to say, and thank you, of course. Thank you for liking and subscribing. So please, if you're not subscribed, please press that subscription button. It's completely free. Press your notifications, the notification bell, and you'll get all the updates of these cases that we're going to talk about today, or any other case. And yeah, thank you to my members. Thank you to all of you that bought me coffees. sent super stickers, sent emails, left nice messages. Thank you to all of you for caring about the victims that we talk about. It's so appreciated, and just all the positive impact you give to my channel. Thank you for being part of the VNC community. I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you. Now then, so first of all, we're going to talk about Lilly and Jack. Lilly and Jack, these two adorable children. Let's just have a quick recap of what happened with Lilly and Jack. A very long time ago now. I mean, I'm trying to think, when was it they disappeared? It's got to be coming up to a year now. Was it May last year? Let's just check the date that these two. Now, the sad thing is, you know, as you find when you look into these cases, you can't believe how many children go missing. You know, the children go missing all the time. Just how does that happen? You know, of course, we're covering the Gus Lamont case as well. He's missing. Children go missing from their homes on a regular basis. And quite often, the answer is never found as to what's happened to them. And really, you know, this case is typical, unfortunately. It's not an exception. You know, it's not like that it never happens. It does happen. Happens a lot. Children disappear into a puff of smoke. Nobody knows what's happened to them. It's very sad, isn't it? Anyway, that's what happened here. So Jack and Lilly. Lilly is the old. She's 6. I think she's still 6. I don't think she's had a birthday yet since she's gone missing. Whereas Jack, he was 4 when he went missing. He is now 5. He has had a birthday. So they went missing sometime in the early hours of May the 2nd, nearly a year ago, 2025. And they lived in a rural home on Gairloch Road in Lansdowne Station, Pictou County, in Nova Scotia, in Canada. And they disappeared. They were living there with their mum, Malaya. They had another sibling, Meadow, a baby, and their stepfather, suppose you would call him that, Daniel. Daniel Martel. Now, it was a very strange circumstances because the very next day after these children disappeared, Malaya, the mum, left Daniel, went from the property, didn't hang around. This is literally the very next day she left that property. Didn't hang around to see, because it was initially thought the children had got lost, wandered into the woods. The house is surrounded by woods, but Malaya did not stay to find out. She was gone the very next day. So, of course, this has led to a lot of suspicions on Malaya. Why? How could you leave? You know, when your children could turn up at any minute. I mean, it's different. Maybe 3 months later, and you've given up hope that they were going to get found in the woods, but literally the very next day, when those children might have been lost and alone in the woods, and then they suddenly might have been found, and they would need their mum, wouldn't they? So, yeah, that was a very strange thing. And of course, Daniel Martel himself has come under a lot of scrutiny. He's the stepdad. He did a lot of interviews in the early days. Oh, he's all over being interviewed by mainstream media, YouTube, you name it. He was getting interviewed by it. And but he's gone very quiet now. I do think that's significant, personally. I think it's significant that we don't hear anything from Daniel anymore. Why has he suddenly gone quiet? I wonder. Anyway, a few things have happened over this investigation. We could probably do with another press conference. There's not been the police chief or the law enforcement haven't spoken out for a little while, so probably it'd be a good thing if they did another press conference soon, because there have been sort of some developments. Now, a big development was that Daniel was arrested. He did get arrested a little while ago, but not related to the disappearance of Jack and Lilly. He was arrested for was it forcible confinement and sex assault, and we don't know on who, though it's probably Malaya, but we don't know. You know, that's the names have been kept secret and all the proper details. Anyway, he was arrested and charged with that, and in fact, very recently he appeared in court. In fact, I might have a video about that. So yeah, a week ago he appeared in court on sex assault and other charges. Let's see, there was a little video of him going into court. Let's have a look, see if I can find it, and we can have a look at that. Now, a lot of people don't like Daniel. I just couldn't decide about Daniel. You know, in the early days, I was thinking, oh, mate, you know, because quite often parents, step-parents, you know, family members get accused of things when they're not guilty. You know, that's what happens. So it's just running. Oh, no, there is no ad. Oh, yeah, let's have a look at this video of him going into court. So it's gone very quiet since this has happened. You know, so as I say, it's not related to the disappearance of Jack and Lilly, but there are serious charges that he's facing. Let's have a look at the video, just make sure it's sharing. You know, they're serious charges. sex assault, forcible confinement. You know, it's not. Now, the other thing about him being involved in etc. Again, you know, he says he isn't. Other people say he is. I don't know what the truth is, but let's have a look at him going into court on his other charges. So he's definitely been arrested and charged with this. It's interesting, isn't it, really? Because it reminds me a little bit of Gus. This case reminds me of Gus Lamont's case, very much so. Now, in the Gus Lamont case, the police have, I mean, Daniel hasn't been declared a suspect. Let me just say that now. The police have not said he's a suspect, so I want to make that clear. But in the Gus Lamont case, and of course the two grandmas have been declared suspects, really. And one of the grandmas was arrested on unrelated gun charges. It's like, do you think the police do this? They try and find something on these people so that they can put more pressure on them. Do you think that Daniel is involved in the disappearance of Jack and Lilly? A lot of people do. And to be honest, in the beginning, I did not think so. Well, I won't say I didn't think so. I was trying to be, the jury was out, you know, until there was any evidence. And I was hoping that the children would be found. Like we all were, you know, the first week you're hoping they'll be found alive. After that, you know, that two young children like that can't survive on their own. So after that, you're just hoping that they'll be recovered. And then as time goes on, then you start thinking, well, they're not in those woods. This is really, again, what happened with Gus Lamont. The police realised that they had no evidence that Gus Lamont had wandered off like he was supposedly had done. So they came to the conclusion that if he didn't wander off, then some foul play has happened or an accident. So I feel like that in this case, you know, initially I was trying to give Daniel the benefit of the doubt. One thing we have to remember about Daniel as well, he did pass a polygraph. And we know he passed a polygraph because he told us all about it. he, he was very happy that he'd passed this polygraph. He spoke about it with media, etc. We've watched his interviews. So he's very vociferous in the beginning, Daniel, about what had happened, his theories on what happened. Of course, him and Malaya had split up by then. He was very talkative in the early days. Now he's gone radio silent. It makes you wonder, why has he gone radio silent? Anyway, the reason that I'm doing this video talking about him today is there's been a new round of polygraphs, apparently, but we don't know what the results were. But what we do know is apparently Daniel has been contacted for comment and he's not commenting. So it just makes you wonder, doesn't it? Why is he suddenly gone all quiet and now suddenly doesn't want to talk about the case when you couldn't shut him up in the beginning? Hi, Marg. Yeah, I think he's involved now, Marg. So I've come to that point now where openly, I don't mind saying, I think Daniel is definitely involved. You always, it's oh God, I just got chill going down my spine then. Because right from the beginning, one thing you will remember that I said about him was he reminded me a bit of Ian Huntley, the Sower murderer who died just literally a few days ago after being attacked in prison. Because he loved talking to the media as well. He enjoyed his 5 minutes of fame, didn't he? He thought he was so clever, a pathetic little man, really, Ian Huntley. But after he murdered Holly and Jessica, he was all over the media, wasn't he? And thinking he could bamboozle the police and, expressing fake concern. And he did, obviously he doesn't actually look like Ian Huntley, but he just reminded me of him in his demeanour and the way he wanted to talk to the media so much. Now, the thing is how the police don't have, we have to presume, I think, that Lily and Jack sadly are deceased. Surely. How can they not be deceased, really, after all this time? But where are they? And that's what I think this is what the police are looking for. It's the body. Same with Gus Lamont. They've declared that the tramma and the grandma are suspects, but they can't arrest them and charge them because they haven't got enough evidence yet. And I do think that this is probably the case with Daniel Martel, personally. So this was him appearing in court not long ago for unrelated charges, assault charges, probably against Malaya, but her name's not been released. There he is. He's going into interview room 2. All the press were there, of course. And then he came out. Now, he doesn't look so happy now, does he? I mean, he's virtually reveling in it before, going on, being interviewed, saying now he passed his lie detector test. He had nothing to do, that he's appearing on all sorts of YouTube channels, etc. He didn't look so happy there. Let's just have it. Yeah. Watch him coming out again. Yeah, he looks a bit less happy now than he did. Yeah. Now, he says he's there for Lily and Jack. That's all he cares. He just wants Lily and Jack to be found. Yeah. Well, say where they are then. I'd say definitely knows where they are, personally. Let's see what they take.
12 months.
I'll put it back to the beginning because I didn't realise I had it on mute. Let's try again. It's whirring a bit. The internet's slow today, unfortunately.
Daniel Martel walks into the Pictou County Provincial Courthouse Monday morning, met by a symphony of shutter clicks. He's been charged with 1 count of assault, 1 count of sexual assault, and 1 count of unlawful confinement against an adult female between September 2024 and March 2025.
The window of the charge, the multiple charges that are before the court are beyond 12 months. I would proceed by indictment based upon the time frame of the charges because there is no statute of limitations per se, if you're proceeding by way of indictment.
Martel first became a familiar figure in the media when his stepchildren, 6-year-old Lilly and 4-year-old Jack Sullivan, went missing on May 2nd, 2025. To this day, Nova Scotia RCMP say the case remains a missing persons investigation, and Martel maintains his innocence. But now, these new allegations put Martel under a different spotlight. There was only standing room left in Pictou County's Courtroom A as Martel was arraigned on his charges. His appearance lasted no more than 3 minutes before Judge McKean dismissed him. Leaving the courtroom immediately after, Martel declined media's requests for comment. Despite the heightened interest in this case, the Crown wants to remind the public that in the eyes of the court, this matter is separate from that of missing children, Lilly and Jack Sullivan, and as such, the victim's identity must be protected.
And that violation of a publication ban can be the subject of police investigation and or charges. Tread carefully.
Martel is currently in the process of retaining counsel. His next day in court will be March 30th. Ella MacDonald, Global News, Pictou, Nova Scotia.
So March the 30th, his next appearance in court. I feel like the police are trying to put pressure on Daniel. We'll watch that one more time because it was a little bit glitchy. But yeah, they're trying to put pressure on Daniel. And suddenly now he doesn't want to talk to the media after he's been talking to the media, every chance he got in the early days. He knows where these children are. I'm not frightened of saying it. That's how I feel, in my opinion, of course. It's only my opinion. That probably people out there think Daniel's completely innocent. Personally, I don't. And the other thing that we're going to look at in a minute is these new polygraph tests. They're about the blanket. So, when searches initially were done on the first couple of days, part of Lily's blanket was found in the bushes, wasn't it? And of course, a lot of people think that was planted there. So apparently these new polygraphs center around the blanket and, did people, it's not only Daniel who's been polygraphed again. I think probably several people have. But we're going to listen to that article anyway in a minute. But we'll just watch this one more time. I'm interested to see his face. He doesn't look happy at all. The one thing I did think from the beginning was he was a bit stalkery. He turn up at the court where he was going for court because him and Malaya have lost the custody of Meadow now as well. But they allowed supervised visits. And there was one time, wasn't it? He said that he turned up at the courtroom for his supervised visit or the centre or wherever it was. And Malaya was looking in the boot of a car and he came up behind her. And it probably frightened her to death. She's terrified of this man. I do think that. Now, I don't know what Malaya knows, doesn't know. I don't know if she's involved in it in any way, but I think there's definitely coercive control in this relationship, or there was. And don't forget, somebody contacted very early on the Friday morning that Jack and Lily disappeared. Somebody, but we don't know who, emailed the school to say that they wouldn't be in. Now, people were saying initially it was Malaya because that would be, but was it Malaya? The thing is, if you email, if you live with a partner and you can go into their computer, or maybe she was only allowed to use his computer. Who knows who sent that email to the school? It's an email. So it could be anyone could have sent it. Somebody sent one about 6 a.m. that morning to say that Lily and Jack would not be into school. I think that's probably part of the investigation. Who did send that email? Was it really Malaya? You know, what did Malaya know or not know? You know, surely, maybe she knew that he'd killed Jack and Lily, or something had happened to them. But I don't believe she would be staying silent, would she? She's obviously working with the police in some way or another, because this is 100% Malaya that is the victim in this case, even though they're not naming her, because they were together at that time, unless he just went off and did it to some other random person.
Daniel Martel walks into the Pictou County Provincial Courthouse Monday morning, met by a symphony of shutter clicks. He's been charged with 1 count of assault, 1 count of sexual assault, and 1 count of 24 in March 2025.
The window of the charge, the multiple charges that are before the court, are beyond 12 months. I would proceed by indictment based upon the time frame of the charges, because there is no statute of limitations per se, other if you're proceeding by way of indictment.
Martel first became a familiar figure in the media when his stepchildren, 6-year-old Lilly and 4-year-old Jack Sullivan, went missing on May 2nd, 2025. To this day, Nova Scotia RCMP say the case remains a missing persons investigation, and Martel maintains his innocence. But now, these new allegations put Martel under a different spotlight.
Yeah, so it's important to remember as well that so far it is still a missing persons investigation. Unlike the Gus Lamont case that's been elevated to a major crime, and then of course they get more resources then, don't they? This so far has not been declared a major crime. It is still missing persons. So that's important to remember. It's not been elevated to a homicide yet.
There was only standing room left in Pictou County's courtroom in May as Martel was arraigned on his charges. His appearance lasted no more than 3 minutes before Judge McKean dismissed him. Leaving the courtroom immediately after, Martel declined media's request.
I don't know who this woman is with him. Is this his new woman? Who is she? People, I've heard that rumour that he's got a new woman already. Men like him, they do, because, you know, unfortunately, you know, there's always a woman out there that will fall for their bullshit, you know, basically, because they start off really nice, you know, start off all nice and love bombing and this, that, and the other, and then they, you know, coercive control does not happen overnight, does it? And it's normally those people who seem the very nicest in the beginning that end up like the horriblest.
For comment. Despite the heightened interest in this case, the Crown wants to remind the public that in the eyes of the court, this matter is separate from that of missing children, Lilly and Jack Sullivan. And as such, the victim's identity must be protected.
And
it's funny, isn't it? Because it must be freezing. He just had that jumper on, no jacket or anything. Everybody else has got jackets, you know, bobby hats, scarves, you name it. And there's Daniel just rocking up with his thin jumper on. Yeah, look, there he is. Yeah. The thing is, if he has done something to those kids, it could have been an accident. Who knows what happened? But it'll be haunting him, I think. You know, I've been thinking about that a lot lately. I know that psychopaths and that they're not supposed to have any remorse or whatever. He looks haunted though. Look at his eyes there. I mean, you know, doesn't look too clever, does he? For a young man, you know, he is young. So, you know, but look at his eyes. He'll be haunting him. I'm sure of it. I hope so anyway. So yeah, I've basically decided that he's guilty. I know I'm not supposed to do that, but I've given Daniel the benefit of the doubt for quite a long time. And anyway, seems strange to me that he's not coming forward now to say what the results of this polygraph are. because I'm sure if the results were negative, that he was or he passed, I'm sure he'd be around telling us about it. Maybe he's been told not to talk about it. I don't know, but that's what we're going to look at next. So let's have a look at this article. So look, this is the blanket. This is the blanket, or the bit of the blanket. Oh God, I keep jumping at you with things. So, second round of polygraphs conducted in the disappearance of Nova Scotia children. Let's listen to the article, and I'll put the picture up, then we'll listen to it. Oh my God. I put it back to the beginning because I don't know if it was playing at first. Please let me know if you can hear it. Oh. So one of the only pieces of physical evidence in the case. So this bit of a blanket. I mean, I've got to be honest, I think that's the first time that I actually seen that picture, but it looks staged, doesn't it? How's it ended up a strip like that, tangled around the tree? How has that even happened? If Lily had her blanket with her, and then wasn't it in the bin, the blanket? So anyway, I do think Daniel's one of those thickos who thinks he's clever. But don't forget to let me know what you think. Do you think this blanket was planted there? To make it look as if Jack and Lily wandered off. So the other thing we shouldn't forget as well is that the neighbours said they heard cars driving around, but also we mustn't forget that the police came out and said they did not confirm that at all, but they didn't deny it. They didn't deny it that vehicles were heard, but they didn't confirm it. They just said they had no evidence for that. Was that Daniel driving around trying to cover up evidence? What happened to Jack and Lily? It's very unusual for two children to disappear. I mean, children do go missing, sadly, often, but it's unusual for two children to go missing at the same time. Bless them. I just hope they are together wherever they are. Bless them. There's adorable children. How anyone, if it wasn't Daniel, I'm sorry. Daniel might even be watching this. This is something I've come to realize. Sometimes people, even little YouTube channels like mine, you can never be. You don't know who's watching. And Daniel, if you are watching, I would say to you, just go and confess. think about your, don't be worrying about this world. Think about what's going to happen to you in the next world if you don't do the right thing. That's what I say to all perpetrators. Oh, you can't hear it. You can't hear it. Hang on. Sorry, I didn't realise you couldn't hear it. So sometimes it works if I take it off and then put it back on again. Let's try again. Let's try again. Yeah, sometimes you can't hear, for some unknown reason, sometimes you can't hear it the first time and then it plays the second time. No idea. Let's go back to the beginning then.
March 11, 2026, 5 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Nova Scotia RCMP have conducted a second round of polygraph examinations in the disappearance of Jack and Lilly Sullivan, with 2 of those tests focused on one of the only pieces of physical evidence in the case, a light pink blanket found hanging in a tree. Lilly, 6, and Jack, then 4, were reported missing on the morning of May 2, 2025, from Lansdowne, NS, a sparsely populated area about 140 kilometers northeast of Halifax. Their disappearance sparked a massive grid search of the thick woods surrounding their home, where they lived with their mother, Malihia Brooks Murray, stepfather, Daniel Martel, and their younger sister. A piece of Lilly's blanket, found on the first day of the search tangled in a tree's twigs, has been the subject of much speculation, fueled by a lack of answers in the case. Watch family member who found pink blanket was asked about it during polygraph. Family members on all sides have suggested online and in media interviews that it was planted. Haley Ferdinand, Brooks Murray's stepsister, was one of the people who came upon the piece of tattered blanket off Lansdowne Station Road, a kilometer from the children's home, as they scoured one side of the road and came back up the other, said Ferdinand, adding that Brooks Murray's half-brother, Hayden Murray Smith, was with her at the time. We came back up the other side and all of a sudden there was this pink thing in the tree off the ground. She described it, and sure enough, we sent the picture to Malihia and she ID'd it as being Lily's, said Ferdinand in a recent interview at her home outside Truro, Nova Scotia. It was just very emotional to see. Ferdinand said she was asked 4 questions during a polygraph examination on February 20th. Did you plant the blanket in the tree? Did you place the blanket in the tree? Did you put the blanket in the tree? Did you leave the blanket in the tree? She said she responded no to each question, and at the end, she was told she passed the examination. Hayden Murray Smith confirmed to CBC News that he was asked the same 4 questions during a polygraph examination on February 19th. He said he responded no to each question, and was told by the examiner at the end that he passed. RCMP declined a request for an interview, but confirmed in an email that more polygraph examinations have taken place as part of an extensive investigation being led by Major Crimes. The Mounties also confirmed the blanket, one of 2 pieces of physical evidence in the case that the public is aware of, is still at the RCMP lab for forensic examination. The second piece is a boot print consistent with Lily's foot size found on the pipeline trail near the family home.
So that he just said then that they confirmed it was an investigation by Major Crimes, but they're not commenting on. Now, definitely, if Daniel would have taken further polygraphs and the police have said that further polygraphs have been undertaken, Daniel, if he would have passed, he would definitely be out there saying he'd passed.
In Canada, polygraph tests are used as an investigative tool and are not admissible in court. Michelle Genies, an associate professor in the Criminal Justice Department at the University of Louisiana at Lafayette, said police conduct polygraphs to help shape interviews, narrow down suspect pools and to guide who they should be speaking with as part of an investigation. Genies, whose areas of expertise for recovering missing persons, said she feels the fact that police are conducting a second round of polygraphs signals that RCMP have exhausted all immediate leads. The best thing to do when you have a long-term missing persons case would be to go back from the beginning and start over and with fresh eyes and look for anything that they might have missed before, said Genies, who has been following the case closely. It is absolutely concerning that the investigation has gone on for this long and we still have no recovery. All missing persons cases are usually resolved very quickly. So this in and of itself is very abnormal and concerning. Details about the blanket's discovery are laid out in search warrant applications sought by RCMP early in the investigation. The documents said the blanket was discovered around 4 p.m. on May 2, 2025, and police dogs were brought to the location, but no scent was picked up. 2 days later, another piece of the same blanket was seized from inside a trash bag at the end of the driveway at the children's home, said the documents, which lay out an officer's summary of the investigation to that point.
Yeah, the rest of the blanket was found in the trash bag, wasn't it, in the home? Why was it in the trash bag? How would, this is definitely planted, this blanket, because how would a bit of it get out of the trash bag and end up wrapped around a tree? I mean, it's impossible, isn't it? In my opinion, anyway. So I think it was definitely planted, and the boot prints as well. I think they were planted.
Martel had been using the blanket to stop a draft from a door, it said. About a week before the disappearance, Brooks Murray took it from the door because the weather was getting nicer and she threw it in the garbage. The document said, summarizing Brooks Murray's statement to police. Martel told CBC News in a January interview that he had voluntarily provided a DNA sample to investigators the month prior. He said it was his understanding that his DNA was taken in connection with the blanket, but RCMP have not confirmed that. According to the court documents, a number of people underwent polygraphs in the weeks and months immediately following the disappearance.
The thing is, he's not going to be scared about giving his DNA, is it? Because obviously his DNA is going to be on the blanket because he lived there. So he's not going to worry about his DNA on the blanket.
Including Martel and Brooks Murray. Ferdinand and Murray Smith were not polygraphed during the first round of tests. Previously told CBC News that all the questions he was asked during his first polygraph were presumptive that the children were no longer alive, such as, "Did you kill Lily and Jack?" Martel did not respond to a request for comment from CBC News that she has undergone a second polygraph examination and that she was told she passed. She would not elaborate on the questions she was asked. During an interview in January, RCMP Staff Sergeant Rob McCommon said there were a number of different areas investigators were following up on in connection with the blanket. "We'll make decisions on that once we have all that we need, but right now we're not in a position to really comment on that." For Ferdinand, her polygraph was simply another box to. "I knew that I went into the test being truthful. Another normal day, another task to complete in the pursuit of finding out what happened to them," said Ferdinand, becoming emotional at times. "It hurts the longer time goes. We just want answers and we want Lily and Jack home." More top stories.
So, yeah. I think that's the blanket in the tree. That's the woman that they were talking about. So this is, who's this? She's a relative. Oh, so this is Haley Ferdinand, Malaya's stepsister. And she was one of the people who came upon the piece of blanket. And she's the one who says she's passed the polygraph test, asking if she planted the blanket. Malaya says she's passed it, and Daniel is not saying anything. So what do you think? I think a few of you do think that Daniel is involved. I do think it's significant that he's not coming out to say he passed the polygraph, because he couldn't wait to tell us he'd passed the other polygraph. Now, polygraph means nothing, of course, in the court of law, but as they were saying earlier, polygraphs are used just as a tool, aren't they, in investigations to try and narrow things down or give the police an idea or confirm what they maybe already think. So yeah, the polygraph in itself cannot be used in court, but it can definitely be used in the course of the investigation. So that's what I wanted to tell you about Jack and Lilly. Again, don't forget to subscribe if you want to, as soon as there's further news about Jack and Lilly, I'll be back on to talk about it. So I'm going to talk about Nancy now, and this very strange video. To me, it's strange. Well, it's a strange case. So we're going to talk about Nancy Guthrie. Again, no developments in the sense of no one's been arrested, detained. A lot of people, since that Friday, the last Friday, the 13th, Friday the 13th of February, that was when it was that mad activity, wasn't it? The SWAT team going out and this, that and the other. Anyway, it's Friday the 13th again this Friday. It's rare to have two Friday the 13th together like that. But this case has gone so quiet as far as law enforcement is concerned. You just have to hope that that's a good sign, that it's gone quiet, because they are on the verge of catching someone. Are they though? I don't know. And the biggest news lately really has just been about Sheriff Nanos and his lying on his resume. And, the thing is, people have run out of things to talk about, haven't they? So Sheriff Nanos has come under a lot of criticism because of his handling of this case. And now people are going back and looking at his work history in general. And it's, it's not coming up good, is it? This is Sheriff Nanos, of course. I bet he'll be relieved when it's all over, because he's just getting more and more criticism. So yeah, Nancy, and I've sort of, I've come to these are just my opinion. So I just want to remind people, this is Vicky Marie Chats. I'm just talking about what I think about cases. It's not for any, I'm not an investigator or whatever. We're just literally talking about true crime cases that are mysterious, like Jack and Lilly, like Nancy. And also, we want Nancy to be found. Everybody can identify with Nancy, either for themselves, if you're an older person, or it could be your mum, it could be your grandma. This is a lady just asleep in her own bed in Tucson, Arizona. And this man, this person, whoever this is thought to have just literally gone in and removed her from that house. And there was blood everywhere, and nothing was stolen. So the theory, talk about, you come to a theory in the end when you study these cases. My theory is she was deliberately targeted. And unfortunately, I think I'm going to the thought that, very sadly, I think she was actually killed before she was taken out of the house. I think they deliberately went in there to kill Nancy for whatever reason. I hope, who knows what happened when they went in there. They were in there supposedly for 40 minutes, over 40 minutes. What was happening? And I think the blood on the porch, I think Nancy was already dead. And I think as they carried her out, that's, the blood just leaked out of whatever they were carrying her with. I personally think that rucksack that they took in there, maybe that was full of stuff, maybe it was to transport Nancy. I think they targeted her for whatever reason. 100%, I think Nancy was targeted. And it's hard to believe that it was targeted for burglary, because, as I say, nothing was taken, or nothing of value, from what people could tell, was taken. So what was the motive? Was it an SEX motive? There are absolute freaks out there who, look at BTK. He, stalked people for ages. he wrote about it in his journals. You know, he would target somebody, he would follow them around, and his victims were all different ages. You know, he would target them, he would stalk them, and then when the time was right, he would go in there after he'd sussed out their properties and everything. He would go in there and do whatever he did to them. Having said that, didn't take the bodies with him. He did not take Sonia. The reason why this body, well, if it is a body, if Nancy is deceased, the reason why she's been taken is unclear. This is what just makes me feel that there must have some connection to Nancy, because burglars, or even serial killers like BTK, Dennis Rader, they don't take bodies with them. They leave bodies where they are. So there's a reason why Nancy has been taken, maybe to cause even more suffering to Savannah or to the rest of the family, or, you know, there's a reason why Nancy was taken, in my opinion. Not just, oh God, you know, everything's gone wrong, or let's get this body out of here. I don't believe that. Or it doesn't feel right to me. But as I say, just my opinion, just my thoughts, might not be true. You know, maybe it was just an accident. But anyway, all I'm giving you are my thoughts. So this video that's emerged, this is a video. Now, I do think, don't you, if you try and think of, let me share this. If you try and think of newscasters in your country, you know, wherever you are, there'll be sort of famous news anchors like Savannah. Do their families normally go on the telly talking? You know, the video from their bedroom. You know, look, I know it's hindsight, and with the benefit of hindsight, we're all cleverer, aren't we? But looking back, it was, you know, your bedroom is a private place, isn't it? I wouldn't like a video of my bedroom going out online, even to my followers. You know, it's a very personal place, your bedroom. Anyway, for some reason, you know, so Nancy has appeared, hasn't she, as part of the Savannah's story, if you like, a couple of times. So there was recently a video, wasn't there, where Savannah went back to her mum's house. They went for dinner in a restaurant, and there's been quite a lot of focus on Nancy as part of Savannah's TV experience, which perhaps you don't often see. You know, if someone's a news anchor, do you normally sort of see about their families and their families' homes and the intimacy of someone's bedroom? Just, you know, I understand why they were in her bedroom, because they were doing this thing on the best way to make a bed. So, of course, you're going to be in a bedroom. But why in her own bedroom? Couldn't they have gone to a hotel bedroom and done it? That seems more sensible, isn't it? Normally when people, famous people, do things from their homes or whatever, it's not actually their real homes. They're quite sort of careful about giving out too much information, true information about their personal homes, where they are, and that, because, you know, you know, there are a lot of crazy people out there. We've just excuse me. Just recently, Rihanna, somebody turned up at her house and tried to shoot her, didn't they? Or was firing off a gun. You know, being a celebrity is great, isn't it? I imagine at the end of the day, people seek fame and fortune. They want people to know who they are. Of course, they want people to know who they are. They want to be famous. They want the good life, the good things about being famous. There's a lot of good things about being famous, but one of the bad things is you lose your privacy, of course. and the more famous you are, the more people are trying to grab photos of you or find out about your personal life. That's a price that comes with fame, and I think you have to accept that, really. If you can't have one with the other, you can't say, oh yeah, I want to be a famous actor and win Oscars, or a famous singer and win Grammys, or whatever singers win. Oh no, I don't ever want my photo being taken. You've got to try and manage it the best way you can. You can't, your fans they want to know things about you, and the more personal, the better. It's just the way it is. And if you don't know that, you shouldn't go into celebrity status. If you want the celebrity status for whatever reason, you have to be aware of your safety and not give away too many personal things about yourself. Anyway, so but this is unusual because, of course, in her own right, Nancy's not exactly famous, though she was famous because of her connection with Savannah. She was famous for being Savannah's mum, and she'd appeared on TV several times. So this is a TV show from 2013 that Megyn Kelly, she's another reporter, I suppose. I don't know much about Megyn Kelly, to be honest, but she's unearthed this, or one of her researchers have unearthed this Today Show segment from 2013, which shows Savannah's mum, Nancy Guthrie, inside her bedroom. So let's have a look at it.
Footage of the...
Let me just make it is sharing. Yeah. Let me know if you can hear it. Sometimes you can't hear it straight away, and I have to take
inside of Nancy Guthrie's bedroom. We have it. No one's seen this. We found it in a 2013 episode viewing her mom, the mom live in her home in Tucson, Arizona, Savannah live on the Today Show set in New York. It was a lighthearted segment about how to make your bed. Apparently Nancy Guthrie is big on making your bed and had taught Savannah exactly how it ought to be made. And they decided to do one of those fun segments where, like, they have beds on set and the anchors will try to do Nancy's way, and that's what they did. But you are about to see inside Nancy Guthrie's bedroom. Keep in mind, Savannah said her mother was taken from her bed in the dark of night. Well, you're about to see the first time. This is from 20 early.
So she said, let me know if you can hear it, by the way, because if you can't hear it, I've got to take it off and put it back on again. She said, we found it. I bet they've been scouring through every single Today Show. The researchers will have been scouring through it. So this is, it's quite a while ago. So don't forget, Nancy's older again now. You could presume that this is probably the same bed that she's got now. And it's quite spooky, I think, to think she was just there, probably sleeping, when this person, whoever it was, came in. It's horrible, isn't it? So Savannah's mother's secret to making a perfect bed. It's a strange... It's a strange topic, I think. You just feel like, oh, what should we do today? Oh, let's have your mum on showing us how to make a perfect bed. It's a funny old subject, but anyway, there you go. So let me know, just remember, let me know that if you can hear it okay, please.
Hi, Mom. Good morning.
Hi, Savannah.
Well,
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Mom. I see that you've already made your bed, even though it's 3 a.m. there or whatever.
Exactly.
Mom, why was this an important skill to teach me?
Well, I think everybody needs to know how to make a bed. And so when the time came to teach you guys how to make a bed, I tried.
Now, this is not just your hospital corners bed making. We're talking you can bounce a corner.
I mean, I'm just thinking about, oh my God, I think my son still doesn't know how to make a bed. I've only just really, of course, years ago, before duvets, when I was a kid, and there'll be younger people of you out there who think, what, before duvets? Was there ever a time before duvets? You'd have your bloody your sheets, a couple of blankets on top, and then maybe not a duvet cover, but a spread like over the top of it, and that would take some making, or have all those layers to sort out. But I think with duvets, I mean, I don't know about you, but I literally have a flat sheet, my pillows, and then a duvet. In the winter, in the summer, of course, when it's really hot here, you don't even have the duvet on. You may just have the duvet cover. Take the duvet out because it gets too hot at some point, and you just have the duvet cover, or sometimes nothing, to be honest, because it's so hot. But beds don't take much making these days, do they? But I'm sure there are people out there. I mean, it is nice when you go to a hotel, you stay in a hotel and all your sheets are crisp and it's all made perfectly, and that. I love that. But I think in my own home, in normal days, I don't do it. So there you go. Just don't. But obviously a lot of people do.
Order off of it, right, Nancy?
Natalie, don't put me to the test. It's way too early.
She's backing off. Nancy, I just want to know how difficult Savannah was when you tried to teach her this. How much screaming and stomping her feet was involved.
All three of the kids thought it was a really worthless skill. You have to in here tightly, because that's going to give you your smooth corner.
And the tuck under.
Then you pull this over, and you make kind of like a triangle.
I remember.
Don't get started yet. And then you tuck it under as tightly as you can. But here's the little skill. See this nice corner?
Yeah.
You want to make sure that's as tight as can be.
Okay.
You tuck it in.
And you can keep cookies in
Then
there.
when you sleep, there you go.
And then
So when you sleep in the middle of the night, it doesn't pull out.
All right.
That's because
Oh, there.
for
That's
David,
all right.
this would
He's
be a
pulling
toy
it up.
bed.
That's good.
That's the problem.
Now, I have a fitted sheet, so I don't have to do any of that. No tucking in or turning over or triangles. Just a fitted sheet. The easier, the better. I don't want to be, no offense, but I don't, there's life's short enough as it is. I don't want to be spending half an hour out my day making a perfect bed. So it's a fitted sheet. It never moves. So, and then just put the duvet over it. But anyway, this is obvious. Every people have their routines, don't they? And people do things in different ways. But the point of this, of course, is just to show that this is Nancy Guthrie in her bedroom making her bed. They probably should have got. Now, you don't know what crazy person might have been watching that, and it may be nothing related whatsoever with what's happened to Nancy, but it just seems quite an intimate thing. I wouldn't want my family's bedroom to be filmed.
Thank you so much. It's so good to see you. Thanks for coming on the show. I know it's early there.
Honey.
Thanks.
It's really early.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
See where she slept every night, and you can see exactly what this
Let's watch the actual.
The most important thing you have to do is to make sure
Look, that's so rude.
this top sheet is really pulled in here.
That's her bedroom. And what happened to Nancy in that room? And what did the police find in there? That let's not hide, Tori. Let's not forget. So the other thing I want to talk about is my theories. Let's not forget that the police, Nanos, I know it was Nanos, but it was on the first press conference, declared this a major crime instantly. So the blood in the porch, was there blood in Nancy's room? I think there probably was. And I think, sadly, this is, as I say, just my opinion. I think Nancy was killed in her bedroom and taken out in something that the perpetrator had taken with them to deliberately to do that. And that's where the blood drips came from. Maybe she was shot inside. I don't know. Who knows? Who knows? Don't even want to think about it really. But something happened to her. You know, at the end of the day, something happened to Nancy inside that bedroom, and she was taken away. Now, she looks quite sprightly there, but I think this was 2013, so she was probably in her 70s, maybe early 70s. Yeah, and she looks sprightly in that, but you know, there's a big difference between in your 70s and in your 80s, I suppose. Now she's got like patio sliding door. Did they enter through there? You know, it is an absolute mystery, this case, isn't it? I mean, I don't know if I have ever known a more mysterious case. As I say, we don't know who did it, we don't know why they did it, and we don't know how they did it. We know nothing. And yet we've had these CCTV pictures for quite a while now. Has been arrested. You know, a couple of people detained, released, no charges, no vehicle, nothing, nada. And we don't know where Nancy is or if she's alive. I don't think she's alive. I'm sorry, I just don't. I think she was probably dead when she was taken out of there. Now, the other mysterious thing about this, as if there's not already enough mysterious things, you know, people keep saying, oh, this was an amateur. I did look, sorry, it's whirring. Need to come back here. If they had been to this property before and sussed it all out, why, when they finally went there, they noticed the camera, or they seemed to notice the camera, why did they not already know to try and cover up the camera? That is not, doesn't strike you as a professional thing, does it? You know, I would say that professional burglars would take something with them because to disable cameras, because surely they expect cameras, they expect home security. You know, that wouldn't be a surprise surely to anyone, whether they'd been there before or whether it was the first time. Wouldn't be a surprise that there was a camera there, surely. You know, most people have got some sort of home security these days. So, yeah, that makes them look like an amateur. I agree there. But then, if they're such an amateur, how are we 40 days later and nobody's been arrested? You know, they've covered their tracks well enough, you know, to not be, unless somebody has been arrested and we just don't know yet. It could come out. I mean, the thing is, news could break today that somebody was arrested overnight, or you know, it could break at any time, like it did with the Idaho case. Looked like they weren't getting anywhere, and then suddenly they were. Suddenly someone was arrested. And then we found out that actually they'd been tracking Brian Koberger for a long time, hadn't they? He was practically a suspect from day one, really, and they'd identified his vehicle, etc. Same with the Teppes, Monique and Spencer. You know, that Michael McKee, it seems like the police had Monique's ex-husband, seems like the police had their eye on him from virtually day one when they tracked his vehicle. But yeah, they have to dot their I's and cross their T's. They don't want to arrest somebody until they have the full information, and it may well be even today, even within the next hour, even within the next day, or it could be another 4 weeks before suddenly somebody is arrested for this poor woman's abduction. But yeah, I mean, what do you think? Is this an amateur, or does it look like an amateur, or did it look like somebody? Are they an amateur? You know, seems when they picked up a load of plants to hide a security camera, they looked like they were an amateur. But then they've not been caught in all this time. Is this two different people, or is it the same person returning on a different day? Looks like the same person to me. Maybe a different jacket in the first picture, but the shape of the legs, etc., look similar. But don't know. Could be someone who's just a similar build to them. And then, of course, we have the closer up photo. Is this what they genuinely look like? Why are their eyes so, you know, it's not only that they're vibrant eyes, you know, or clear, but it does look like there's eyeliner underneath them, but maybe that's just the trick of the light. Many men have dark eyes, you know, and then you've got this sort of Charlie Chaplin moustache. Are they wearing more than one mask? You know, and yet, like as somebody was saying, you know, although they're creeping there in the dead of night, they're not wearing dark clothes, you know, and they've got a reflective backpack on. That backpack has got reflective strips. Why are they not all in black? So I'll tell you, last night when I was driving to go and pick up my son from work, I nearly killed somebody. And I'll tell you why, because they were on one of those scooters, you know, these horrible scooters that people are using, electric scooters, which I know are handy for people to get around with, especially here near where I live, because there's not brilliant transport, public transport. And this young lad, I'd say he was about 20, from what he just suddenly appeared in front of me. So he was wearing black, all in black hoodie, black jeans, or maybe just normal jeans, but dark jeans, dark trousers, everything in black. I didn't even see him until he was right in front of me. No lights. So he had no lights on his scooter, no lights, dressed all in black. And incidentally, didn't even have a crash helmet on. So that if I would have hit him, God knows what would have happened to him. But literally, luckily, because it's pitch black, where I go and pick my son up, go through places where there are no lamp posts. There is no main lights. You know, you literally are. You have to put your main light on, you know, your main beam, because you just can't see anything. And that's where this guy just shot out in front of me, because they go fast, those scooters as well, don't they? They're actually quite fast. And he literally 1 minute I couldn't see anything but darkness, and then he just came out of the darkness. And luckily then, once he went in my main beam, I could see him. And I beeped him, he had right of way. I'm not saying he didn't have right of way. It was on a roundabout. But you just, if only you knew how you could not see him until, because of his dark clothes, why would you go out on one of those scooters with no lights when it's pitch black, in the dark, in all black clothing and no helmet either? So if I would have fit him, which luckily I didn't, he could have, I don't even want to think about what could have happened. He could have banged his head. It could have been lethal. But the point I'm trying to make is he's riding along on his scooter and he's dressed all in black. This guy's gone to do a robbery or something, or some nefarious thing. Why is he not dressed in black? Don't understand it. He seems, especially with the reflective backpack, seems a strange thing to do. But anyway, so that's it. I just wanted to show you that video. Does that mean that, I think Nancy was targeted. That's my opinion. I think she was targeted for whatever reason, though, I don't know. And I think she was probably taken out of that house. She was already deceased, but maybe we'll get some news soon of what actually happened. I'm still saying prayers for Nancy and for her family. There's always an outside chance, I suppose, that she's okay. But I'll see you really soon in the next video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe and press notifications. Thank you for all your support. I'll see you very soon in the next video. And until then, may your God go with you. Bye.